an in-depth interpretation of Nietzsche's Untimely Meditations. Introduction: Nietzsche's piercing alarm. Have you ever felt lost in the clamor of our era, questioning the direction of culture or the meaning of history? A philosophical book from the 19th century still resonates like thunder, shaking our thoughts. Nietzsche's Untimely Meditations. This book, with its 4 incisive essays, pierces the veil of societal hypocrisy, striking at the core of culture, history, education, and art. Why does it continue to stir the hearts of countless readers across centuries? Let us step into Nietzsche's world of critical inquiry to explore how this untimely wisdom illuminates our lives today. In 1873, 29-year-old Friedrich Nietzsche was in his prime, having just published The Birth of Tragedy, yet faced rejection from academia. Teaching at the University of Basel, he witnessed the cultural inflation in Germany following the Franco-Prussian War, filling him with concern. Thus, he penned these 4 critiquing vulgar culture, the misuse of history, the misdirection of education, and the potential of art, aiming to awaken the dormant spirit of the age. Each essay is a hammer blow, striking not only 19th century Europe, but also our own hearts. This book is not an obscure philosophical treatise, but a dialogue with its readers. With sharp prose, Nietzsche engages with figures like Schopenhauer and Wagner, challenging our understanding of truth and life. In what follows, we will dissect each essay, weaving in real stories and Nietzsche's own words to reveal how these meditations guide us today. First meditation: Confronting Vulgar Culture. David Strauss, the confessor and the writer, is Nietzsche's first powerful blow, targeting the vulgarization of German culture. After the victory in the Franco-Prussian War, Germany basked in euphoria, with scholar David Strauss proclaiming cultural superiority, which Nietzsche saw as smug, empty rhetoric. He wrote, "The culture of our time is a false culture of triumph, masking spiritual poverty." Why was Nietzsche so enraged? Let's start with Strauss's story. Strauss, a theologian and writer, gained fame with his Life of Jesus, which used science to deconstruct religion. Nietzsche, however, saw Strauss pandering to the shallow tastes of the masses under the guise of science, abandoning intellectual depth. The self-satisfaction of cultural figures mirrors observations by 20th century Austrian writer Franz Kafka. Kafka wrote in his diary, "People chase shallow texts because they're easy to digest." Kafka's solitary writing career echoes Nietzsche's critique: true culture should provoke thought, not cater to the masses. Nietzsche further argued that vulgar culture stems from the arrogance of victors. Post-war Germany mistook economic and military might for cultural supremacy. This delusion resonates in modern times, such as during the 1990s US internet boom, where companies chased short-term traffic, ignoring long-term value, leading to crashes like Pets.com's bankruptcy due to reckless expansion, a false victory Nietzsche would condemn. Nietzsche reminds us that culture is not a tool for boasting, but a crucible for the spirit. True culture, he argued, should refine the spirit, not serve as superficial ornamentation. He pointed to the ancient Greek philosophical tradition, where Socrates and Plato's dialogues sparked individual quests for truth, not merely pandering to Athenian public opinion. The spirit remains rare in modern society. For instance, 20th century American philosopher John Dewey, in his educational philosophy, emphasized that culture should foster creativity through practice and reflection, not just transmit traditional knowledge. Dewey's Democracy in Education argues that culture divorced from real life loses its vitality, aligning with Nietzsche's view. Dewey's story reminds us that culture should not be a museum exhibit, but a living force for individual growth. In today's world, the rise of social media amplifies Nietzsche's concerns about vulgar culture. Many content creators chase clicks with shallow videos, catering to instant gratification while neglecting intellectual depth. For example, platforms like TikTok are flooded with imitations and lowbrow entertainment, rarely offering thought-provoking content. If Nietzsche were alive today, he might denounce this digital vulgar culture for trapping people in sensory overstimulation, eroding their capacity for reflection. Yet, exceptions exist, like the podcast The Partially Examined Life, which dives deep into philosophical questions, attracting listeners seeking truth and embodying Nietzsche's cultural ideal. Nietzsche's critique also targets the commercialization of culture. In 19th century Germany, the publishing industry thrived post-war, churning out shallow bestsellers lacking depth. This trend is even more pronounced today, with Hollywood blockbusters often masking weak plots with flashy visuals. Nietzsche would urge us that true culture requires courage to challenge popular aesthetics and values. The 19th century French poet Charles Baudelaire's The Flowers of Evil, controversial for its bold themes, revealed human complexity through profound poetry, embodying Nietzsche's pursuit of cultural authenticity. Thus, Nietzsche's first meditation is not just a 19th century critique, but a warning for our time. To avoid vulgarity, culture must return to spiritual refinement, encouraging individuals to seek truth, rather than follow trends. He wrote, "A culture without inner vitality is mere decoration, destined to decay." How do we combat vulgarity? Nietzsche suggests returning to inner authenticity. He cites Schopenhauer, who rejected pandering to the times, dedicating himself to philosophy in Frankfurt, pursuing truth. Schopenhauer said, "Every page I write is for those with the courage to think." Nietzsche uses this to urge us to reject conformity and bravely question the cultural victories of our age. Take 19th century British writer George Eliot, whose Middlemarch exposed societal hypocrisy, challenging Victorian moral norms. Her work reflects Nietzsche's vision of culture. It should spark deep reflection, not shallow satisfaction. Have you ever felt spiritually empty amid social media's noise? This meditation invites you to pause and reflect on culture's true essence. Second meditation, the double-edged sword of history. On the uses and disadvantages of history for life is Nietzsche's profound reflection on history's role. He sees history as both a treasury of human wisdom and a potential shackle on life. He wrote, "Excessive historical knowledge makes people slaves to time, draining their creative vitality." How does this meditation help us understand history? Let's start with the historian's story. 19th century German historian Leopold von Ranke, dubbed the father of modern historiography, advocated for recording history as it was. Yet Nietzsche saw Ranke as overly fixated on details, neglecting history's relevance to the present. Ranke's students recalled him spending years organizing archives, rarely exploring history's broader meaning. Nietzsche critiqued this antiquarian history, arguing it traps people in nostalgia, sapping their courage to act. Nietzsche divides history into three types: monumental, critical, and antiquarian. Monumental history celebrates great figures to inspire the present, like Winston Churchill invoking Shakespeare during World War II to rally Britons. Critical history examines past mistakes, such as South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, exposing historical wounds to foster healing. Antiquarian history obsesses over trivial details, like scholars fixating on ancient artifacts while ignoring their cultural value. Nietzsche warns that excessive antiquarian history causes indigestion, stifling creativity. His critique of antiquarian history highlights a common mental trap: obsessing over past details while neglecting present action. This was especially evident in 19th century Europe, where German historians document worship focused on cataloging ancient manuscripts, rarely considering their contemporary relevance. Nietzsche argued such historical study was mere self-indulgent antiquarianism, not a spur to societal progress. Take 19th century British historian Thomas Carlyle, whose On Heroes and Hero Worship sought to inspire action through stories of great figures, aligning with Nietzsche's praise for monumental history. Carlyle wrote, "History is the biography of great men. It should ignite our souls." In modern times, Nietzsche's warning remains relevant. Museums and historical documentaries, while preserving valuable heritage, risk trapping audiences in antiquarianism if they focus only on display and nostalgia. The 20th century Italian futurist movement, led by Filippo Tommaso Marinetti, rebelled against this, calling for burning museums to embrace modern creativity. He declared, "We will destroy museums and let art face the future." Though extreme, this echoed Nietzsche's emphasis on history's vitality. It should serve the present, not burden it. Nietzsche's critique extends to the personal level. Many are paralyzed by past failures or glories, like athletes clinging to old triumphs or individuals stuck in childhood traumas. Psychologist Carl Jung, influenced by Nietzsche, proposed individuation, integrating past and present experiences for personal growth. Jung's story reminds us that history is not just external records but an inner dialogue. Thus, Nietzsche urges us to use critical and monumental history as tools to examine past errors and draw strength from great figures, infusing the present with creativity. His view of history is not just an academic reflection, but a guide for life, encouraging us to find direction amid history's currents. 20th century philosopher Martin Heidegger, influenced by Nietzsche, called for drawing possibilities of being from history rather than being bound by it. Heidegger's work reminds us that history should serve life, not oppress it. Take 19th century Russian writer Leo Tolstoy, whose War and Peace explores human destiny through historical narrative, inspiring readers to reflect on life's meaning. His work embodies Nietzsche's vision of monumental history. It should inspire the present, not constrain it. Similarly, 19th century French historian Jules Michelet's History of the French Revolution re-examined the revolution's gains and losses, showcasing the value of critical history. Have you ever been trapped by past regrets or glories, forgetting to move forward? Nietzsche advises using critical history to confront mistakes and monumental history to ignite motivation, finding history's true value. Third meditation, the true mission of education. Schopenhauer as educator is Nietzsche's profound exploration of education's essence. He argues that true education is not about imparting knowledge, but awakening self-awareness. He wrote, "The purpose of education is to help a person become who they are." Why did he so admire Schopenhauer? Let's delve into this philosopher's world to uncover education's true meaning. Arthur Schopenhauer, known for his pessimistic philosophy, was a beacon of education for Nietzsche. Rejecting academia's hypocrisy, Schopenhauer pursued truth in solitude in Frankfurt. His The World as Will and Representation dissected human existence with striking insight, deeply moving the young Nietzsche. Nietzsche recalled that reading it felt like, "My soul was set ablaze." Schopenhauer's independent spirit prompted Nietzsche to critique education's flaws. 19th century German universities focused on vocational training, neglecting spiritual freedom. Students were molded into obedient tools, not independent thinkers. This issue wasn't unique to Nietzsche's time. 19th century American educator Ralph Waldo Emerson voiced similar concerns in Self-Reliance, writing, "Trust your own thoughts. That is the spark of genius." Emerson urged students to break free from tradition and pursue individualized growth, echoing Schopenhauer and Nietzsche's vision for education. Drawing on Schopenhauer, Nietzsche proposed 3 principles of education: awakening self-awareness, fostering critical thinking, and pursuing truth over utility. Take modern entrepreneur Elon Musk, whose journey vividly illustrates Nietzsche's educational ideals. Musk, engrossed in reading and self-study from a young age, wrote textbooks. He said, "I never thought schools could teach me everything. True learning comes from exploration." This self-driven learning led him to found Tesla and SpaceX, reshaping technology and energy. Similarly, 19th-century British poet John Keats abandoned medical studies to follow his literary passion, creating immortal works like Ode to a Nightingale. He said, "I'd rather fail at what I love than succeed at what I despise." Keats's choice reflects Nietzsche's call for education to help individuals discover their passions, not bend to external expectations. Nietzsche further criticized utilitarian education for stripping away individuality. 19th-century German universities, influenced by the Industrial Revolution, prioritized practical skills, sidelining philosophy and the arts. This trend is even more evident today, with many universities emphasizing STEM fields while cutting humanities funding, narrowing students' perspectives. In 2015, Japan's government even suggested closing humanities departments, sparking widespread controversy. Nietzsche would likely condemn this as the murder of the spirit. Nietzsche's ideal education awakens inner potential, not produces compliant workers. Take 20th-century educator Maria Montessori, whose Montessori method emphasized children's self-directed exploration, encouraging learning through interest rather than passive absorption. Montessori said, "Education's task is to let a child become themselves." Her approach aligns with Nietzsche's vision of fostering individualized growth, not standardized production, and her schools remain a global testament to his ideals. On a personal level, Nietzsche's educational philosophy inspired many self-taught success stories. For instance, Indian mathematician Srinivasa Ramanujan, with minimal formal education, taught himself mathematics, producing groundbreaking theories. His story proves that true education stems from inner drive, not external frameworks, making him a model of Nietzsche's becoming oneself. Nietzsche also emphasized the role of mentors through Schopenhauer's example. Though Schopenhauer's philosophy was not widely accepted, its depth influenced countless readers. Similarly, 20th-century American psychologist Abraham Maslow's self-actualization theory argued that education should help individuals reach their peak potential. Maslow's work reinforces Nietzsche's view: education's ultimate goal is liberation, not confinement. In modern times, many students pursue hot majors due to societal pressure, abandoning personal interests. A 2019 survey found over 60% of U.S. college students chose majors for job prospects, not passion. Nietzsche would remind them that true education is a journey of self-discovery, a shortcut to utility. His educational vision critiques 19th-century universities and offers insights for 21st-century reform. We need classrooms that ignite passion, not assembly line diploma factories. He wrote, "Universities have become factories, producing soulless workers." This issue persists today, with many students chasing degrees or high-paying jobs, abandoning true interests for mechanical learning tracks. Take ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, who used his midwifery questioning to spark independent thinking and challenge authority. His method embodies Nietzsche's emphasis on critical thinking. Have you ever sacrificed your passions for grades or societal expectations? Nietzsche suggests finding your Schopenhauer, a mentor, book, or experience that inspires you to become your true self. Education's mission is to help you hear your inner voice and boldly become who you are. Fourth meditation, the redemptive power of art. Wagner in Bayreuth is Nietzsche's ode to art's potential and a complex evaluation of Richard Wagner. He saw Wagner as a beacon of art's possibilities, yet worried about his limitations. Nietzsche wrote, "Art is life's great stimulus, awakening dormant souls." Let's start with Wagner's operas to explore how art can redeem life. Wagner, 19th century musical titan, stunned Europe with his epic, The Ring of the Nibelung. As a young man, Nietzsche was a Wagner devotee, believing his music could transcend vulgar culture and awaken humanity's spirit. Watching Wagner's performances in Bayreuth, Nietzsche felt the music's overwhelming emotion. He wrote, "Wagner's art is a bridge to the sublime." Yet, Nietzsche later saw Wagner's music as overly indulgent, catering to sensory pleasure without true philosophical depth. He wrote, "Wagner's music is an intoxicating wine, but we need a sober flame." This ambivalence reflects Nietzsche's higher expectations for art. 20th century filmmaker Ingmar Bergman provides a real-world echo of Nietzsche's artistic ideal. Bergman's The Seventh Seal, set in the Middle Ages, grapples with faith and death, challenging viewers' inner worlds. He said, "Art should not just entertain, but confront the truth of existence." Bergman's work, refusing shallow commercialism, aimed to awaken souls through film, embodying Nietzsche's vision of art as a mirror of life. Nietzsche further argued that art's redemptive power lies in its transcendence. He cited Greek tragedy, which, by depicting fate's impermanence, helped audiences find meaning in suffering. Nietzsche wrote, "Without art, life's truth would be unbearable." In modern times, art continues this role. For instance, Bob Dylan's "Blowin' in the Wind" fueled the 1960s civil rights movement, inspiring courage for justice and freedom. The song was more than melody, it was a call to the era's soul. Take 19th century French painter Édouard Manet, whose Olympia broke traditional aesthetics, sparking controversy but pioneering modern art. Manet's courage reflects Nietzsche's expectation that art should be an era's alarm, awakening dormant souls. Have you ever found strength to face life through music, film, or painting? Nietzsche reminds us that art is not mere pastime, but a bridge to truth. Fifth meditation, the core of Nietzsche's thought. The four meditations, though distinct, revolve around a central question: how to find meaning in a vulgar age. Through critiquing culture, history, education, and art, Nietzsche seeks to awaken individual consciousness and creativity. He wrote, "One must surpass oneself to become truly human." This is not just a philosophical proposition, but a call to every individual. Take 19th century American poet Walt Whitman, whose Leaves of Grass celebrated individual freedom and nature's grandeur, rejecting blind tradition. Whitman said, "I am my own universe." This affirmation of individual worth aligns with Nietzsche's vision. Though Nietzsche's superhuman concept is not fully developed in Untimely Meditations, its seeds are present. He urges us to become us of life, using creativity to combat mediocrity and thought to break free from societal chains. Nietzsche's ideas profoundly influenced 20th century existentialism. Jean-Paul Sartre, in Being and Nothingness, emphasized defining oneself through free choices, echoing Nietzsche's "Become Yourself." Sartre said, "Man is condemned to be free. This freedom is both a burden and a liberation, demanding we face life's absurdity and create our own meaning." In Sartre's novel Nausea, protagonist Roquentin confronts existential emptiness, but chooses to give life meaning through writing, extending Nietzsche's thought. Take 19th century Norwegian playwright Henrik Ibsen, whose A Doll's House challenged traditional gender norms, sparking controversy. Ibsen's work reflects Nietzsche's call for individual awakening. Only those who question their era can create new values. Have you ever paused in life's rush to ask, "Why am I living?" Nietzsche's answer is that life's meaning lies not outside, but within your own creation. Sixth meditation, a mirror for our time. Nietzsche's four meditations are not just 19th century critiques, but questions for all ages. Through Strauss, he exposed culture's falsehood. Through history, he reflected on human bondage. Through Schopenhauer, he redefined education's mission. Through Wagner, he explored art's redemption. How do these reflections mirror our era? Let's start with the modern figure's story. Marie Curie, a two-time Nobel Prize-winning scientist, pursued truth in a male-dominated academic world. Her persistence and creativity embodied Nietzsche's untimeliness. Curie said, "I never thought science was easy, but it's worth everything to me." Her story echoes Nietzsche's call to reject vulgarity, transcend limitations, and create personal value. Curie's achievements were not just scientific breakthroughs, but triumphs of individual will, reflecting Nietzsche's vision of self-realization. Nietzsche's meditations also inspired 20th century cultural movements. Existentialist writer Albert Camus, in The Myth of Sisyphus, proposed the absurd life, urging people to create meaning in a meaningless world. Camus's Sisyphus, pushing a boulder uphill despite its futility, chooses to imbue life with meaning through action. Camus said, "We must imagine Sisyphus happy." This acceptance and transcendence of absurdity is a modern echo of Nietzsche's thought. Take 20th century American writer G.D. Salinger, whose The Catcher in the Rye revealed teenage alienation in a hypocritical society. Protagonist Holden's rebellion reflects Nietzsche's call for individual awakening. Only by rejecting conformity can we find our true selves. Have you ever felt lost in today's information overload? Nietzsche's meditations are a mirror, reflecting our confusion and illuminating our inner yearnings. Epilogue, the revelation of untimeliness. Untimely Meditations is an intellectual adventure, with 29-year-old Nietzsche challenging an entire era. His critiques, though sharp, are filled with hope. He wrote, "Only the untimely can change an era." This book is not just a philosophical manifesto, but a call to action. In our modern world, we still face the dilemmas Nietzsche critiqued. Does popular culture lead you astray? Does history hold you back? Does education make you forget yourself? Does art touch your soul? Take Tesla founder Elon Musk, who broke free from traditional education, self-learning programming, and engineering to create world-changing companies. His story reminds us that true breakthroughs come from untimely courage. Or consider 19th century Italian poet Giacomo Leopardi, whose poetry, filled with reflections on life's pain, also brims with love for existence, echoing Nietzsche's call for self-transcendence. Nietzsche's meditations invite us to become our own thinkers. Whether you're a student, professional, or dreamer, this book asks, are you willing to risk for truth? Are you ready to be untimely? From this moment, listen to your inner voice and boldly create your own meaning.